Hey guys, welcome to CPL Fever. It's your host, JackMurrayTV right here, and today we are joined by Riobol co-owners Matthew Folsom and Elliot Fauske. So how are you guys?
Excellent. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. This is exciting.
Yeah, we're so honored to have you on, and we can't wait to ask you some questions.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, so how we usually start off is, I always like to find out how you guys fell in love with soccer.
Oh, for me, I remember driving by a park and seeing kids playing. I'd always been playing at recess and everything, and then I found out like these kids are on an actual team, and my dad didn't get me on a team. So my first memory is just loving the sport, wanting to play it all the time. And I distinctly remember like being angry at my dad that these other kids were on a soccer team, and I didn't even know that was a thing yet. And I got on a team. Finally, I think I was kindergarten or something like that, a real late start. And they were explaining how this kid named Colin Bedoin was the leading goal scorer from the season before. And so instantly I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to score more goals. I said this just to myself. I'm going to score more goals than you next season. And, I don't know what it was, but I had that instantly as a goal. The first moment before I even played, I was like, I want to be the best player on this team.
Wow. Okay. And did you hit that? Did you get the
I don't
record,
think so. I think I started out playing sweeper.
Okay. Makes it a little difficult, eh?
Yeah.
Had to humble the man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, I just grew up playing a bunch of sports. My dad was kind of your All-American. He played football, basketball, baseball, soccer was whatever. But they did put me in rec soccer when I was 5, and we went defeated. So year 1, 1-0 games. And I was like Matt, where I was very much a competitive person. And I quit a couple times. I quit soccer twice in my first year, and my parents wouldn't let me. The first time is they told me I couldn't wear jeans to practice, so I quit. And then the other time the coach would kind of rough up your hair, kind of grab your ears like a really nice old guy. And it just kind of bothered me. It annoyed me, so I quit again. So I fell in love with it, but through a rocky start.
Okay, cool. How did you guys end up meeting, by the way? Because you guys both played very high level in the U.S., right?
We met playing against each other at a very high level. I played for the Riverside Rebels, and Matt played for the Blue Turtles?
Yeah, the Blue Turtles.
Yeah.
So recreational soccer. Yeah, recreational soccer in Spokane, Washington. And we were a north side Spokane team. And then even further north was Riverside and Chewelah. And so this kid from Chewelah was on the Riverside team, and all of a sudden their team got really good. And we were used to winning all the time, and now here comes this new team, and so we had some good games back and forth. That was right about the time where we had tryouts for a tryout team. I think you'd call it Premier now. I'm not sure it was called Premier back then.
It was.
But one of my favorite stories from that tryout, I think half of that team came from my recreational team, but nobody knew who Elliot was, and he was just destroying everybody at tryouts, and he had these distinctive purple socks, and so everybody was calling him Purple Socks. Hey, did you see that kid with purple socks? Someone marked purple socks. And it was like purple socks this, purple socks that. And so for I think probably the first year on the team, he was pretty much known as Purple Socks.
Yeah, because I had moved out from Seattle to a very small town an hour north of Spokane. So I was driving 45 minutes to play rec soccer in a small town that was still outside of Spokane. So I was a transplant to the smallest team in the league. And so it was our last year of recreational soccer. And I remember Matt because in rec soccer, you had 1, 2, maybe 3 guys that you had to worry about. And so it was like when we played the Blue Turtles, you got to worry about Matt, And I know you beat us more than we beat you, which actually made me so angry.
Yeah, well, I remember when we played Riverside, and I'm pretty sure you scored a goal, and it was tied 1-1. I remember this because I dribbled through your entire team. I don't know where you were, Elliot, and then Megged your goalie, and we ended up winning 2-1. It was downhill from there after, but that was my.
I probably wasn't in the game if Matt scored.
So when you guys got to playing like D1 and like high level soccer and stuff, what position were you playing? Just for a little bit of context.
I played mostly center mid to holding mid, and then they used to put me out on the wing a lot because I'm an unorthodox style play and pretty good cardio, but I hated the wing. I didn't hate it, but just that cross. Running. You were too dependent on other people to get you the ball. A little control freakism. I like to be in the play a lot, so the center mid was nice.
Yeah, so Elliot kind of developed later in life physically. So he was always like the smallest guy on the team, always the most skilled. But his mentality is to put the team first. So because he was small and super skilled, he got put out on the side a lot. But I mean, later on in his career, he was like a center defensive mid because he was always just covering and seeing what the team needed and then doing that. And if he was just a little bit more selfish, he would have been probably a phenomenal number 10, but he played mostly as a number 6. For me, I just wanted to get that ball on the run. I was big and fast, and if I could control it, and then if I could do a give and go, I'd pretty much be gone. So I like to hang out on like that last line of defense, super wide, all on that touch line. And I was just looking for that long diagonal ball, knock it into the corner, let me go get it. So my favorite position is probably like a number 7 or a number 11, like a wide right striker. If I don't have to play defense, that's better. But for Gonzaga, they put me at left back.
Okay. Yeah, left back's what I get stuck at.
Yeah.
But
left out, left back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a winger, and I'm an inverted winger and a cam.
Yeah, center attack and mid. Nice. Left foot or right foot? I'm
a right footer, but my daddy taught me how to use like my left foot at a very early age, like at 4. So I'm pretty 2-footed.
That's fantastic. Something Elliot and I used to do when you'd play with a new team or new players, we would try to use our left foot almost exclusively. And the goal was to get the other team or other players to ask you, are you left footed? And if you could do that, you're doing okay.
Wow. Yeah. You must've been really good to do that.
Yeah. I started when I was 10. My rec coach said, you want to play pro, right? And I was like, oh yeah. He said, the pros use both their feet. So I was very fastidious about doing both feet from then on.
Okay. So it was like a conscious thing at age 10. You were like, okay, now I got to work on my left foot.
Yeah. It's not like I never used my left before that, but I didn't focus on it. I wasn't thinking about training. I just played for fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So let's get into some, where do you want to go next, Jack? Do you want to go to the U.S. soccer?
Let's go to U.S. soccer because I personally love talking about country soccer and stuff. So this is going to be really fun for me. So I wanted.
And because we're Canadian, we can get a little controversial, right?
That's right.
You live far enough away.
Well, I'm going to ask the first question about U.S. soccer. So what do you think the focus in the U.S. for soccer is these days?
Well, I think the coach right now is pretty focused on putting in systems and organization. I kind of like what he's doing. He's getting creative with bringing in a fullback into the center and moving players around like that. I'm just not sure we have the talent base to really do everything that he wants to do. So I think his focus is getting all the players on the same sheet, top to bottom through the program, so they know what to expect when they get to that high level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing that the U.S. just flubbed the World Cup thing and didn't get in there. But you know, right now U.S. soccer is ranked 22 in the FIFA rankings. You know, given their player base, you would almost kind of think that there should be some more standout players than there are right now.
Absolutely. I think that's way overrated. I mean, how can we be 22, 23 in the world when we didn't even make the World Cup? We struggle to qualify. We're getting in tight games with super small countries, and you look across, you know, the Olympics or other sports, other professional sports, and America is dominant. We have so many, you know, just excellent athletes, excellent systems. So why isn't America dominant in soccer? You know, if I'm being honest, I think Elliot and I, one of our goals is to help America get to the point where we've got 3 out of the top 5 players in the world vying for the Ballon d'Or award every year, because they're so technical, so creative. That would be amazing.
Because there's a lot of money being spent in the U.S. on soccer. Like, you know, so why are they underperforming? Like you said, I thought that was a really interesting point, how you kind of correlated to the other sports, and, you know, with the athleticism in the U.S. and you know, their skills, they're really good in all these other sports, and they seem to be kind of behind where they should be in soccer.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Elliot can talk a lot about this because he's played in different countries and he's seen the difference. I mean, just Elliot's experience playing even with like a group of Bosnians or a group of Mexicans indoor team, he can slot in there, and it's a total different level of understanding of soccer. For me, my personal experience, our club team that Elliot and I played for played way better soccer than at least my D1 college did. You know, my college team, it was basically based on athleticism. So you get the strongest, fastest, hardest tackling, hardest kicking group of guys, put them together, and you just try to outwork them. And, you know, who's the best player maybe of all time? Well, Lionel Messi, right? He's not big. He's not physically imposing. He's small. He's quick. He's creative. Those types of players in America are getting pretty much run out of the game, at least for the past couple of generations, because a lot of the coaches, a lot of the clubs are picking based on athleticism rather than soccer IQ, soccer intelligence. It's also like a style of play where we're running as hard as we can and we're super athletic, but we don't have any rhythm. We don't have any, you know, game understanding. We don't have the creativity. So, I mean, you've got real experience with that, Elliot. Let you hit that.
Yeah, so soccer is very much a rhythmic, fluid game, like Matt touched on. And so there's so much nuance to it that is not effort, right? It's understanding the games, the flow, and it's working with your teammates. And so it's a different kind of training that's going to make you good. In the U.S., we're going to lift the most weights. We're going to check our nutrition. I had a lot of teammates who would spend a lot of time lifting weights, and I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but they were technically deficient, right? Like, I would use my energy first to get better at the sport. I would put a second day in training with the ball. Another thing is we don't fall in love with the game in the way that other countries do. You know, they just play it. They're hungry. They're in the street. And to me, the biggest thing there is there's no coaches or parents telling you what to do. It's just a hierarchy, sink or swim. You know, if people are yelling at you to pass the ball, you either have to do it or toughen up, and just the cream of the crop rises, right? Like, you get these creative, tough, gritty, hungry players that eventually get discovered, where we played sandlot baseball, right? Or street basketball. Other countries play soccer. So I think that's the biggest deficiency. And then I coach youth soccer, and our kids seem to be very in the box. Like, you show up to practice and you're looking for cones and a coach, and you're looking to be told, and that is not what the game is at all. And like Matt said, I'll play with a lot of foreign guys and never met them before and just have instant rhythm and understanding. But on my college team, my coach would give me grief because I played unorthodox. He's like, hey, it's unpredictable for your teammates. I'm like, I play with them every single day. So, the advantage is they know me and the other team doesn't, and they can't, you know, right. It's just a different style of play.
So they're trying to box you up a bit to make it easier for the other players.
Yeah.
They're less creative.
Which to
Yeah.
me negates my effectiveness big time.
And like you were saying, the U.S. tries to get like the fastest, strongest players, but more than half the game is actually played in your mind. It's a mind game. You have to be 2 or 3 steps ahead of the the opponents, because the athleticism is definitely an important part of it, but so much of soccer is played in your brain, and you can't just rely on speed and strength.
Yeah, it's really been interesting to see over the last couple of decades how the rest of the world is trying to catch up kind of with where America is athletically. So they're focusing more on nutrition, athleticism, sports psychology, and so they're getting their creative soccer players to be better athletes. And America needs to go back the other way with the rest of the world and get our athletes to be more creative, fluid problem solvers.
Yeah, something that Eddie Johnson told me when I trained with him was that that the U.S. likes to be like the leaders of like the world, and they want to lead it, but and what they do is they're trying to make money with the players while they're still like kids. But what other countries do in like over in Europe is they try and build all those players up, and then they make the money when they're like so successful. So they almost need to go the other way with just developing. It's just surprising because Eddie Johnson told me that America kind of needs to just train the players more and not focus so much on we're doing it, that the US is doing it backwards.
Yeah, I think you can look at the youth systems in, Spain, well, anywhere in Europe and South America where they have a strong culture of soccer. And you've got, people who've played the game their entire life, like professionals, old, grizzled, super experienced soccer heads going into the community and finding those diamonds in the rough when they're 6, when they're 7. Barcelona flew Messi out to Spain when he was like 12, 13, right? Those kids aren't having to pay to play. They get to play for free, and then they get resources of a professional club poured into them. And the club, you're exactly right, Jack, is trying to capitalize once they're a professional. I mean, one of my favorite stories is when Bergkamp was at Ajax, and I think it was like the U21 team. They knew he was an attacking player, but they wanted to develop his game. So they played him at right back for an entire season just to make him better, because that was going to, improve their value, improve him, even though that was not the best move for that team for that year. And so the United States system is completely backwards. We're charging all those kids to play, which immediately eliminates all of those kids in the poorer neighborhoods that are disadvantaged, that don't have, 2 parents with 2 incomes, that can drive them 45 minutes both ways to soccer. And those are the kids that have the opportunity to just go to the park and play and learn the game, because playing the game for 5 hours a day, every single day, is absolutely the best teacher. And so that, I think, is one of the reasons we're so far behind these other countries.
Because we went to Toronto for a couple of summers, but we had found these kids that played in the park every like evening. So me and Dad would go there too. And I probably learned more there because I was playing like 3 hours for like a couple weeks, that my game just enhanced so much just with the 1v1s, the game situations. Like Elliot, you said that you playing with people that you've never known, but you have so much rhythm with them. I felt like that with those kids because they were so advanced with soccer and they just played every like evening that I felt like I could just fit in. That experience is probably one of my favorite times just to play soccer because I learned so much in such a short period of time.
And you're doing it right. You have to learn, so you're solving those problems on your own. It's a fluid, dynamic situation with a bunch of different players, a bunch of different scenarios. No one's telling you exactly what to do. If you want to succeed, you've got to figure out and do it on your own. And pretty much all the research on learning says, we all learn by doing it. You're not going to really learn by a coach telling you what to do and then you mirroring what they want you to do. So I think that's absolutely the best environment.
Just because you have to think about it, and how you are faced with a situation and you aren't having like a coach telling you what to do, saying what you should do in like a 1v1, you should like do like a wall pass every time or a scissor every time. You can be creative and just learn, because if you're creative, you can learn what moves work. Like sometimes if you're doing like let's just say like a big combo move, like a Maradona scissor step over or something like that, you have to try it to see how it works, and maybe you'll know the right place to do it instead of just doing a scissor, which is short and fast, and it doesn't work there, because you need to try all these things to get the right one for you. And that's why so many players in like all these countries are so good, is because they're creative. They kind of taught themselves, so they know what to do. They don't have like an idea fed into their head by a coach.
Yeah, I mean, soccer is all about solving problems, right? You need to be, the game's dynamic, a lot of moving parts, and you've got to think quickly and solve the problem. And creating that environment where anyone can just walk to the park and play is really the mission behind Riobol. So, I mean, that's why we're donating a portion of every Riobol sold to building these parks. We've got these basketball courts.
Yeah.
Set up all over the place, and it's just like, you know, asphalt and a couple of hoops. Well, if we just put a couple of goals there, or did the same type of a thing and had basically futsal courts like they do down in Brazil, all over the country, definitely in like heavily populated areas where you can walk to that place, we're going to create that same environment that you experienced in Toronto. And that's the goal. So every kid in America has the opportunity to play, even if they can't afford to be on some premier team, some traveling team. They can just go to the park and play.
I think that it's such a good cause to donate to, and I just really love that.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're a little ways away from building our first park, but we're excited. There's like a camp here in Spokane for underprivileged kids that couldn't afford a summer camp here, and we're going next week, and we're giving every one of those kids a Riobol. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be exciting. I think cool. We're giving away 100 Riobols to kids that need it. So
Nice.
That's our first
awesome.
big move.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we wouldn't be able to do that without the support of our community. You know, we've been blown away by the online community through our Facebook and Instagram. It's been overwhelming when players get a Riobol. They're just so excited. They look at it and they just want to train. And it's really funny because we'll see this pattern where a player will get the Riobol they've been waiting for. Shipping's kind of slow with COVID, especially international. So the buildup is intense. And then they'll get it, and we'll get like 2, 3, 4, 5 videos in a couple of day period. And the parents will be telling us their juggling record went from 7 to 25 or from 25 to 100. And, you know, that's one of the pieces of magic of Riobol, is that it's unique. It's new. It gets that player excited, especially now when we're doing training by ourselves a lot of the time. And so just if it gets kids playing more, it's worth it.
Yeah, this Riobol is totally awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, so this might be a good place to kind of go into like what is the Riobol? Like, can you kind of explain the idea behind it, the concept of what it is?
Yeah, so I came upon it when I was trying out with a team. I was with a pro team for preseason in Brazil, and preseason we used it exclusively. It was just physical workouts, and we kind of worked in plyometric type stuff, fitness, and the Riobol. We didn't use a regular soccer ball, which was really interesting. Of course, it's not normal, but my touch was never so clean. It was really crazy. When they dropped the ball, I just remember feeling like I was kicking a pillow. It was like a beach ball. I could strike it so clean. And then the hunger too. When they dropped that ball and let us play a little keep away, everyone was so locked on because it was like that buildup where we hadn't actually gotten to play. And so just the size of it with the weight, so the weight is similar to a regular soccer ball. So the response is going to be accurate on the weight, but then it's smaller and a little bit squirrely. So it just causes fine-tuned response naturally. If you're going to control it, it just forces it. So.
And did they explain why they use that? Why they decided to kind of only let you use this smaller ball when you went down to Brazil? Like was there a reason behind it, or they just?
Eu não sei, falo pouquinho, então. Yeah, they may have. My Portuguese was decent, but in the because I speak Spanish, so.
Okay. Yeah.
But when I was initially just using that ball, my Portuguese wasn't up to snuff. So they may have told us, but I don't know that they did, because a lot of things they do down there, like we talked about, they're trying to bring up their professionalism. And since I was down there, that team's been purchased by somebody with a lot of money, and they made it much more professional. But they're very good on the technical side, very much playing in the street. These Joe Blow, no-name guys are better technically than most pros in the U.S. And it really showed that we could improve and get that technical ability through it. So yeah, it was just a really eye-opening experience, because a lot of what they were doing wasn't technical and they weren't explaining it. And some of the stuff seemed backwards, but the result was really effective.
Well, and we didn't really know any of the science behind skill acquisition when we started this whole thing. And when Elliot first discovered Riobol down in Brazil, but now it's coming out, if you put limitations on certain things, you can develop skill a lot quicker. And futsal is an excellent example, right? There's no walls like American indoor or hockey. So you have to have control. The field is small. And then they do, it's actually a padded ball. It's not heavier than a soccer ball, but it feels like it because it's weighted. So the ball's not going to bounce around. So you're really constricted with a tight space and having to maneuver the ball on the ground. That is going to develop your ball control and your dribbling ability. And that's, two of the things Brazilians are known for around the world. And it's because they play futsal all the time. Well, Riobol is a little bit different than that. It's a small weighted ball that's bouncy. So it's like a perfect complement to futsal, because you're getting that touch out of the air and all types of control complemented with the dribbling ability for futsal. So having that limitation of size, that constraint, really boosts skill acquisition. And it's been really interesting to get kind of deeper in the science on that as we grow.
Oh, okay. So you've actually kind of gone into the science, and you're seeing that plays out. Because one of the things I was going to ask you is just kind of bring up that theory that you mentioned, of constraints. Like anytime you constrain something, it forces you to be creative. Even in something like a haiku, right? There's a specific formula where you have to have a certain number of syllables. And so it forces you to kind of come up with something with that constraint. So the idea is that when you force constraints for whatever reason, it kind of allows you to become more creative, or it actually forces you to become more creative. And so is that kind of part of what you see with the Riobol doing the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a perfect way to explain it. And you wouldn't want to play futsal exclusively. You wouldn't want to play 11-a-side exclusively. You wouldn't want to do Riobol training exclusively, right? You want a well-rounded experience. And that's some of the problem that we've seen at higher level here in the United States and actually around the world. Some of these kids coming through academy systems, those academies are so regimented and set in their system. Those players coming through aren't creative enough, are getting burnt out from having to do the same thing, playing the same way all the time. And so now more and more, these top level professional clubs are trying to find ways to do different kind of constraints to get those players to have to adapt, because that's what soccer always comes down to, is having to adapt. Who can adapt to that situation more effectively, more quickly? And that's speed of play, speed of thought. Like you referenced, Jack. It's all in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I can really see that because, when you have players that are just playing full field and they're just working on crosses and running and all that athleticism, that's one area. And I can see how if that's all you're doing, you're really missing out, because Jack goes to a soccer academy and they have like a turf field, and they also have a red futsal floor.
Mm-hmm.
And when they play on the futsal floor, like it's there's just more rolls. There's more more kind of, you're boxed into a corner. So you're forced to kind of, do this dance and try to get it around someone. And so it just looks like a whole different skill set almost.
Yeah. So to me, it comes down to a lot of that is just quantity of touches and then quantity of high pressure touches. If I'm on an 11v11 pitch, how many times do I touch the ball? Something I frequently tell kids when I coach, I say, you can get a ball on a wall and get 1,000 touches in 5 minutes, easy. You won't get that in 2 trainings. You're standing in line, you're waiting for a teammate to pass it. There's different, it's really, team training is for team training. Individual training is for yourself that you must do outside if you really want to be effective. So Riobol, to me, has the extra accountability when you throw it out of the air, and it's all volleys because gravity is always working against you. So you have to react quickly. And if this little ball, small room for air, and it's kind of squirrely, if you hit it at all, well, it hits the ground. It doesn't go back to your partner. There's immediate accountability there. Whereas if I'm just passing it to you on the grass trying to get better, I might miss you by a foot or two sometimes. You just reach out and stop it. There's no accountability. And then I have my kids juggle with the Riobol a lot, but I say get an overall juggling record, get a record only on your right thigh, only on your left thigh, with both thighs, only on your left foot, only with your right foot, and both your feet only. And the reason I have them isolate is because, one, it's different brain patterns. Like if your brain doesn't send signals to these parts of your body, you don't develop the same. And so it's not just a matter of getting good with your right and your left. It's really training your brain to choose the best avenue, right? It's going to send the signal, should I use my left, right, inside, outside of the foot? And then there's precision there. If I'm juggling with one foot only and I'm just making myself accountable to work on my left foot, well, it's not just using my left foot. It's like one side of the body. I have to feed that ball so that it will come to my left foot, not just kick it in the air and I can use any body part to save it. So really the precision and the repetition of touches, I think, is the value.
Yeah, and that's, you're really hitting on that, like ball control. What Riobol can do and what players really need is to get their ball control, their technical ability, like just maxed out, like 100 out of 100, right? 99 out of 100 on your FIFA score. And so you're not thinking about, how am I going to trap this ball? How am I going to control this? You're looking at where your players are and where the space is. And so you're automatically controlling the ball and solving the problem. And that's immediately taking a step away from that process in play, which is going to speed up your play and speed up your thought process if you can control the ball with any body part automatically.
Yeah, it really goes back to, for me, the rhythm of the game. And if you're in 11v11, you can hide, you can play to your strong suit, but like a futsal, when you isolate and make it compact, you're forced to do certain things. And that really takes mental clarity, So Matt and I talk a lot. We didn't have good training. We played rec till we were 13. In our first 2 years of Premier, we were the second best team in our state. And we had a dad volunteer coach who had never played soccer, never coached it, library book, pre-internet, trying to learn something. But we have a lot better understanding and rhythm of the game than a lot of these kids coming up in academies nowadays. We weren't as technically proficient because we weren't taught how to train. So there were deficits in our game for sure, where we could have been better. But I see these kids, and again, the pay-to-play model isn't just that you're glossing over kids who can't afford it, but even the kids who can afford it or do play, the parents are putting out all this money. So they want some bang for their buck. So they want to make sure their kid's on a winning team typically, right? They don't want to pay all this money and you're getting home every day sad. The kids, bummed out, and mostly parents, their egos on the line to a degree. But then the pressure falls on the kid. You better be training. I'm not paying $5,000 a year if you're not going to put in the extra work. So now the kid has pressure from the parent. And then you have coaches. Well, they're making a lot of money. The clubs are businesses. So they're getting all this money. So they have to produce results. They have to show that the team is progressing in development and probably winning a decent amount of games. Also pressure on the player. So now you have this young player who should be playing for the joy of the game, and they're worried what mom and dad and their coach think constantly. And when your mind is anywhere else but in the game, man, you don't function as well, because this isn't a game where you get a timeout, you run a play, the ball's out of bounds. It's a huge field. The ball stays in bounds, 22 players. If I take one step left, that changes the angle to 21 other players and the ball. The ball is moving and 22 players are moving. You have got to be, why I think soccer is the unique sport for me, why I chose it above other sports, was it's completely mentally engaging the entire time, but you're kind of on this like Zen Nirvana plane where you're responding without thinking. So you're physically engaged, you're totally making decisions, but you're kind of just on the separate plane. And if you get criticism, if you let voices from the outside or even in your head that you're worried about what the coach might think, it really hampers your play. And so I felt that, like I mentioned before, some coaches really understood my style of play and I thrived. The coaches that didn't and tried to put me in a box, I felt like I was 60% as effective. So that rhythm we got to grow up with, I think, is a real privilege that young players now don't really get.
I think what Elliot's talking about is like getting in the flow. Jack, have you ever had that experience playing in a game where it's like you look back at an amazing play that you did and you don't really remember the decision making of how you did it or why you did it, but it was like an amazing result? Have you kind of had that experience?
Yeah, I've had it quite a few times, and it's kind of weird because you do this amazing play, but you don't really think about it. And I was just thinking about it right now, because sometimes with these like little skill moves that I've been practicing for forever, and I'm in a tight space, I don't even have to think about it. I love to do like the little star touches and the la croquetas and others, but those are my two that I love. And my brain doesn't even have to think about those anymore, like at all. So, and those two are really effective moves. So they're really good in futsal. They're really good in a normal game. And when you look back and you don't remember like the decision making, it's like a nice feeling.
That was one of my favorite parts of playing is that flow moment you guys are talking about.
Yeah. Have you read that book, Flow? There's a book called Flow. Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic book. And it basically talks about anything that challenges your skills and your mind at the same time. It'll be like, the time goes by and you're like, where did that time go? Because you were just engaged in the present. And that's what I love about soccer, because when you're playing it, you're just totally present for that hour or that 90 minutes or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I was curious about so basically, in order to get good at soccer, your guys' philosophy is you've got to get that technical skill to the level where you can do it without thinking about it, because that's going to really free up your mind so you can focus on the tactical and the creative elements. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because again, what I spoke about is if you're distracted by any factor, so it can be people, but it can be your own skill, right? A lot of people, you're looking down, you want to make sure that touch goes well. But if that's an instinctual thing, you're freed up, your eyes are up, you're finding the play, you're finding teammates, and it just works far better. It's not even close. Somebody who is technically not thinking about it and somebody who is hoping their trap goes well.
Now, this is like my personal experience. I totally remember this because when I was playing like on the wide right position for like a regional team, I got to be creative because I didn't have to really think about how I was going to control that ball. And I was good with both feet. So when I was playing for Gonzaga, that's D1 level, they put me at left back, even though I'm right foot dominant. But it was a game changer for me because every time that ball's coming to my outside foot, I'm like concentrating so hard on making that good first touch with my left foot. and I was not nearly as effective just because I didn't have to think about controlling the ball on the right side. I did on the left, and it changed what I could do.
Right. That's a great point.
And I found
really
that too, just personally, if I wasn't sharp, if I wasn't putting in extra touches and extra work, there were times when I was playing where I'm generally very confident in my touch, but if I wasn't putting in extra work, it just takes a little bit of self-doubt, a little bit of questioning, you lose the ball, and it kind of throws you like, wait a minute. And just that little distraction has a big effect. So I think that individual training, no matter what level, you have to continue with it. And that increases your confidence, but also sustains the level you are.
So when did you start playing with your head up? Like, so you could kind of get to the point where you realized, hey, I need to be able to make all these moves and still be, looking at the field.
And it was never a conscious choice. I asked, me and Matt often reminisce about growing up playing. And it's like, I don't know if I was training on purpose to get better, if I just loved it. I really don't know where the two met, because I would dribble a ball around the house all the time. I would juggle like crazy, but I just wanted to beat my record. And my siblings didn't play soccer. My friends didn't play. So I was just trying to beat my juggling record. I don't know that I made the connection that this will make me better on the field. I don't think that was in my thought process. So that's really hard to say. I think I've always naturally been a little bit of a cerebral, analytical player. So I don't know at what point my skill gave me the opportunity to maximize that. But again, that's why I just want to see young kids love the game. As one, it's more fun and it's less pressure, but they'll actually be more effective because then they'll play all the time.
Right.
Well, and that's why we got good or decent, Elliot, is because it wasn't because of our wrestling coach reading drills out of his library book. It was because every time we hung out, we played soccer. When we were by ourselves, we were playing soccer. And I distinctly remember being your age, Jack, and when I would go out and train, I'd work on trying to get my head up and like looking around and being able to dribble. I remember working on my peripheral vision, where I'm like seeing things out of the corners of my eyes. That's when I was basically just doing stuff on my own during the games. I never thought about that. I was just trying to be in the moment and play.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, the Riobol is kind of fun. I mean, the colors are fun. It just kind of feels like I don't know what it is about it. It just seems like it's because it's smaller. It's kind of more fun, maybe because you're so used to kind of the regular size 4, size 5 soccer ball, and I don't know. It's just there's something fun about it.
And you mentioned colors, and one of my questions for you was, I saw on the site that you have kind of 3 different color palettes, but they're all like pretty similar, but you have 3 different color palettes. So why did you choose those color palettes, and why do you have 3 slightly different types of Riobols?
So the colors are of the Brazilian flag.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was ultimately what led that. They're just bright, happy colors too, but we really like the way it actually does kind of look like the globe. Some of the patterns, it just kind of feels like the earth a little bit. And I just think that insinuates the world's game.
Yeah, when I see it, I kind of think of the earth because it's round and and the blue reminds me of the water and the green reminds me of the land.
Yeah, no, we've gotten a lot of comments that it looks like the earth. I'm so happy, Andrew, that you think it's like fun, because that's the whole like objective, right? Is that joga bonito, bonita? Which one is it, Elliot?
I think it's hoga bonito.
It's joga bonito. Yeah,
There
I mean, it's masculine or feminine. It can go either way.
I always get it wrong. That fun, like that carnival feeling of just, being fluid, creative, a party, that's really the whole objective, to, make those technical trainings where you get the ball control and those fundamental skills fun. That's
yeah, and the ball really stands out because of how bright the colors are and how small it is.
Yeah, I think that's a big appeal. Whenever you're at a soccer tournament or a store, I think people are really drawn by the little mini balls. There's something about just a smaller version of the real thing that seems like a toy, like it's playful or fun. The mini balls just don't have the weight, so they're not as functional. And so this has the function, but also kind of that small ball appeal.
Mm-hmm.
I like the challenge of it. I remember the first time you brought some of these back from Brazil, Elliot, trying to juggle with you. First of all, you've been a better juggler than me forever. So I was always the one dropping it. But trying to do touches with you with this the first time, it's like, oh my goodness. It literally bumped my concentration level up to a different plateau, just trying not to make a mistake. And I've always been drawn to that challenge. Like going back to the first story we talked about, oh, you're the top goal scorer on the team? All right, I'm going to try to score more goals than you. I think if you're going to be a soccer player at the top level, you've got to have that competitive drive.
Yeah, that competitive drive kind of reminds me of Cristiano Ronaldo and Michael Jordan. Just that competitive edge.
They take it to another level, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Jack Murray as well.
So the actual smaller ball and the heaviness of it kind of emphasizes, it kind of magnifies your own touch. So if it's a little bit off, like the size 5 can kind of mask it a little bit. Whereas with the Riobol, it'll kind of show you, oh, okay, you have some room for improvement there.
Yeah, it's accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. You mistouch it with the Riobol just a little bit, you're going to notice it. And so that just makes your control so much more precise when you move to that size 5.
Right. And then if you didn't have something like that, then you'd just be relying on the size 5 ball, which wouldn't improve you as effectively.
I think you can still improve using the size 5. It's just not as fast. You get better, faster training with that small weighted ball.
Yeah, get better faster.
Now, what about the PSI? Like, I saw on the site, you can kind of adjust it a little bit. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, the more pumped up it is, the more PSI, the bouncier it is, and the more ching it is. And if you deflate it a bunch, then it's softer and it's a little bit more forgiving. We recommend anywhere between a 2 and a 3 PSI. You probably want to pump it up a little bit more towards that 3 when you first get it to help it round out that shape. When it's deflated, the rubber kind of takes a form, so it takes a little while to find its shape. And then I like it at about a 2 where it's really soft. A lot of the players that I train will say, this is flat, and I'll feel it. I'll push in my thumb with, and it's like, nope, that's right where you want it. I don't know. Where do you like to use them, Elliot?
Yeah, so I think if you're trying to make it easiest to control, it would be just shy of a fully pumped feeling, But when we were training down in Brazil, they were actually more on the deflated side, to the point where it was challenging, not forgiving. And so I think if you go super pumped up or a little under pumped, it has a similar effect. That it's either going to bounce and be really responsive and hard to control, or, when a rubber ball gets deflated, its response isn't consistent. So I think they both have a similar effect. And so if you're training in a driveway with a hill nearby, I would go less inflated. It's not going to go as far away from you.
Yeah, that balance, if it gets away from you.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a really cool thing.
But if you're on a wall, then you want more pumped up, right? If you're knocking off a wall by yourself, you want that response. So.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
I was also going to ask both of you this question. So I had heard that playing sock-footed or barefooted improves your touch as well. So do you think it's a good idea to play with the Riobol sock-footed or barefooted? Or is it just good to wear shoes and like soccer shoes?
I feel like there's value in all things, right? Like this is why we use the Riobol, because it's not a size 5. I think barefoot with the Riobol, socks, shoes, barefoot with the soccer ball, socks, shoes, everything is going to give you a little bit different look, and it all adds up to control. And so I think it's great, like different surfaces as well, right? Out in the mud and the grass, dry. We've played on, what was that? It's like volcanic rock type crust stuff, sand. I remember going camping and playing in the woods with our buddies, just running over saplings and falling and, shooting it between two trees. Matt, we played under I-90 down on the concrete in the winter, so freezing cold, but there was no snow under the freeway. So I just think there's value in every aspect of training, because if you're very streamlined, used to one thing, you don't have that versatility.
Yeah, we played a lot of barefoot soccer in my basement with like just a soft, almost stuffed animal type ball. And that was super fun. And like Elliot said earlier on, I don't think there is bad touches. Any kind of touch on the ball is going to add value. So get as many different types of looks as you can. So barefoot, with socks, with shoes. I played a lot in sandals, juggling a lot in sandals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because then you get
that's weird. That's the one thing I think is weird.
No, it's the best. You get like that surface to protect the bottom of your foot, and then your top is still open, so it's like barefoot shoes.
I've never tried that.
Are you the dad that wears socks with his Tevas?
No, I'm not a Teva guy.
I think Matt might be.
No comment. No comment.
All right, so tell me about the surface of it, right? Like, it's different than a traditional soccer ball. It's rubber, I guess. What's the thought behind that?
So it's basically half natural rubber, half synthetic rubber. The synthetic rubber gets mixed with the natural rubber so that it doesn't flake off as much and makes it safer and healthier for people. And that's what they used in Brazil. So that's what we're using. One of my favorite things about the Riobol that we didn't know about originally is it's super tacky at first, but the more you use it, it like wears in and smooths out. It's almost like that pair of leather shoes or that baseball glove that just totally breaks in. My favorite Riobols to use are the ones I've had the longest, that they just have a better feel to it. And so, that's one of the things that distinguishes Riobol from another ball. A soccer ball doesn't break in like that. A futsal ball doesn't break in like that. And it's a different surface. It's a different feeling. One more constraint, one more adaptation for, better skill acquisition.
Cool. Yeah. And I guess if you're a coach and you had a bunch of Riobols and gave them to your students, you could tell which ones were using them then.
Definitely. And we can see that on Instagram too, where they pop it out of the bag and it's so bright and shiny and new. And it's like, okay, you have not used that one yet. And then some that are just like working. And it's totally like the color changes and the sheen is different. It's like, you've been putting in the work. Good.
So getting back to like the US and kind of your mission, like, why do you think there are so few soccer spaces in the United States? And it's the same thing in Canada too. Like we see these, abandoned tennis courts that no one uses and stuff like that. But, a mixed use court and I don't know, I think kids just naturally, like even kids in North America, like if there's just a ball, it's the easiest sport to play.
All you need is a
with
ball.
Two people. Even if there's just two people, you get to do one-on-one. Try to get around them, shoot in the net. Like it's the most basic kind of thing. Like
the ball is the perfect toy because you can kick it, you can do all these fun moves, especially with soccer. And if you don't like soccer, you can throw it too.
Elliot talked about playing in the forest. We would go camping. We'd have a ball. It's like, okay, those two trees, that's the goal. Those two trees, that's the goal, and we would play. I think it's a cultural thing. I think, the park planners, the city planners, all of the people making those decisions of what gets built where didn't grow up playing and weren't, soccer players. So those spaces didn't get built. I think that's changing. We're definitely trying to help change that. There's pockets around. The documentary that we
Soccer
both
Town
watched.
USA? Say
Say it again, Jack.
Soccer Town USA?
Soccer Town USA. they had that culture. They had that space to go. And that's literally how America got to the World Cup for the first time since 1950s. Those guys, the thing that stood out for me the most from that documentary, they would go to that park and play before school. They'd go to school. They'd go to the park and play after school. Then they'd go to their soccer practice, and then they'd play more soccer after their soccer practice. So they're playing like 3-4 times per day in addition to their soccer training. And here in America, at least with most of the players that I train, they're only playing at soccer practice. That's team training. You're never going to get that ball control, that technical ability, just going to soccer training. So we don't have those spaces. I think it's a culture thing.
Yeah, and I think that you're right that it is starting to grow, because now people have been talking about making like a soccer field just like 20 minutes from where we live.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think the space is a part of it, but you could play anywhere, right? Anywhere there's a surface. And I love soccer because it's the easiest sport to pick up for a 2 or 3 year old. You just kind of kick at it and the ball doesn't go out of bounds. It can stay there, but it could be the most highly technical, cognitive skill game. And so I think the versatility is unbelievable. Whereas in basketball, if I'm a little kid, it is hard to dribble with one hand and pick up your dribble and dribble again. That's illegal, but you can do that. But then you have to shoot. That's pretty difficult. You have to be strong enough to get it there. Then you need a hoop, and you can't just fashion your own hoop. But outside, you can throw a couple pine cones down, and there's your goal. Yeah, you know. So I don't think it's completely just the spaces to play. I think that will help immensely. But I think it's largely culturally, we've been a sandlot baseball, right? Pickup basketball. There's these traditional American sports. But on top of that, I think the electronics is the #1 enemy of kids getting out and playing, because they're so overstimulated in their mind. They're sedentary, and you're not using your body, and you're not always cognitively thinking that much, but yet your mind is totally stimulated by color and sound. And they scientifically find out how to make it more addicting. So you're trying to get kids off of an addiction to go have fun in a traditional way. And I just think it's too easy to sit in front of screens, and these kids just aren't getting out in the fresh air and just loving to play.
Yeah, but you can't knock FIFA completely, because that does help players understand tactics, formation, team movement, stuff like that. There is benefit to that, but too much of anything's not good.
So you're saying FIFA? I'm talking like
FIFA's a soccer video.
I'm talking like headshot kill. Like, why are you doing that and not playing soccer in your yard, son? All these video
I've never
games.
picked up a shooting game ever. But also, sometimes I've noticed that almost that I've gotten better at 1-2s with FIFA, because maybe I've gotten a bit better with 1-2s from FIFA because me and Dyson and I play together. But my attack has gotten so much better in FIFA, and I play one touch all over the field. But I think it kind of helps because you can kind of see the whole field, and you get to choose where it's going to go, and you have to defend as well.
Well, and you're making decisions. You probably know the difference between a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-3-1. I'm not sure Elliot knows the difference between that. We definitely didn't your age, you know.
We're on air. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we can
could have texted me that. Yeah.
No, but I've got a question for you guys. Do you ever play against each other in FIFA, and who wins?
We've actually never played against each other because we're kind of tech people, but we're really kind of not, because we're good at doing videos, but we're really not good at games. Because even me, I find it so hard to find the settings. I find most games really confusing because I don't use my hands a lot as much as other kids, and I don't like having to press all these buttons to find what you want. I find it a lot harder almost. But it's hard to say because I'm really good at attack and he's really good at defense.
So it sounds like you need to get an original Nintendo in your life with 2 buttons.
Yeah, you sound like us, Jack. All those new video games are too complicated for us. We like the old thing, 2 buttons we can handle.
Yeah, I like 2 buttons too. Yeah, and sometimes I have this game called IntelliGym. It's like a soccer thing, and depending on your position, they make like a little almost game set for you. So so they give you challenges, like if you can get a goal in in the next 5 seconds, you get 3 extra points. Like if they have the ball and then you take it, because sometimes I say anticipate, like what you do right after you get possession is important. So if they get possession, then your net for 5 seconds will give them 3 points, but vice versa.
Yeah, it's kind of like a game that's supposed to help with the kind of spatial awareness of understanding players' movements and stuff. So yeah, that's just something that's out there as well.
Yeah, but since you asked us who wins in FIFA, who wins when you guys play FIFA?
Elliot's terrible at FIFA, so I win. But I'm definitely not the best in our group of friends. Danny beats me really bad. So if you're watching, Danny, you're a better FIFA player than I am. Sadly, I'll admit that.
I'm with you on the buttons, Jack. I can't. I get instantly angry. I rage because I see the place I want to put the ball, and my guy likes slide tackles. I hate it so much, man. I can't last a minute.
Well, I have a question for both of you, but I'm not sure who to ask the question first because they're 2 different questions. But who wants to go first? I'll just ask you guys that. Who wants to go
Elliot.
first? Okay.
Do you want the youngest or the oldest?
I don't know. But let's just go with you, Elliot.
All right, the oldest it is.
Okay. And your favorite player is Hernan Escalante, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
So that's a funny story. So I was in Rochester, and he's a really great guy. He played pro in Central America. I'm going to blank out on his country. I think he's from El Salvador. So he's a good young pro. And he said he was really arrogant, full of himself, had a bright future. And he took some kind of cortisone steroid drug illegal shot to heal an injury quicker. And it totally deteriorated his tendons and muscles in one leg. Oh. And one of his legs is far shorter than the other. And he limps, and he still gets out there and plays for fun. Doesn't complain, can hardly hobble and run, but always playing pickup. And he has dedicated his life to giving back to kids. So he is 6 days a week volunteering with kids in the inner city. He started a soccer program for him, runs it. So it was kind of like a tip of my hat / joke to him, because like I haven't even seen him play when he wasn't, having that injury or that medical issue. So it really was just kind of a funny thing to give him a nod, to any of our fans who read the question and answer thing. But
okay.
So how did you get the nickname the Mohican Warrior?
Well, that was a development. So I had grown my hair out, and I've always liked to do dumb stuff with my hair. So I got bored, so I just shaved the sides. And then when I played, they would always make fun of my ponytail. The other teams would just be heckling and laughing because I just do this little like fountain. They'd be calling me Pebbles, or guys would be asking me out on a date. This one game, this guy asked me out on a date the entire game. He was like, saying like I had a girl hair or whatever. And then I was on this radio talk show, and the DJ is this old Vietnam vet guy, kind of gruff, kind of teasing me like, what do you do in your hair when you play? Throw it up in a ponytail? And I was like, shoot, like, yeah, So I just tried to make it sound a little more masculine. I was like, well, I like to think of it as a Mohican warrior look because they would shave parts of their head to go into battle, And our owner of the Rochester Lancers indoor soccer team, he used to be in the WWF when it first started, pro wrestling, early 80s. So he loves the hype. So he heard that, and I was introduced as a Mohican warrior from then on. And that was even before I did the mohawk. So like once I did the mohawk, it was very solidified.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that mohawk. How did you hit the ball with that?
Well, it's quite resilient. It looks like you could gore somebody with it. but
Oh, you could. Okay.
no, it looks that way. But it'll bend and snap back into place. When I do a header,
Okay.
there's a couple photos where my hair is just like a spike. It's just over here, but after the ball goes, it just comes back up. I have one header goal with the spikes.
Okay. Cool.
One spike goal.
Yeah.
And that is really cool. But now I have a question for you, Matthew. So can you tell me about Landon Donovan? Because we heard a rumor that you played with him.
Yeah, I mean, briefly. So Landon Donovan is my birth year, and we are in the same region for the old Olympic development program. And I think right around age 16, we had the regional camp where, Washington, Colorado, California, Hawaii, Idaho, all those 14 states in our region got together, played a tournament, and they picked the top players to stay over one more week and play against the older players. Elliot's group, the old guys. And they roomed us so we had two teams, like the A team and the B team. And we were using the IAX 433 and the numbers. And so like the two number 7s, I was a wide right striker on the B team. And I roomed with the wide right striker on the A team, which happened to be Landon Donovan. So here I am from Eastern Washington, just like so excited to be there, so happy to make the team, trying so hard to make an impression, scared to make mistakes, right? Kind of normal. And here's this kid from Southern California who didn't even make the Southern California ODP team because he didn't make it to enough practices. So he was on an alternate team, but still made it. He's there joking with the coaches about how many goals he's going to score, saying, I'm going to score this many goals. I'm going to score that many goals. And I'm just looking at him like, oh my goodness. I remember this was the era of the old MLS shootouts where you'd get the ball from like 35 yards out and
then you
do a dribble one-on-one with the goalie. And I remember watching him do that in a game that meant something. And he just took one touch, rolled it out in front of him, and just shot it right into the top corner from super far out while everybody else is getting close and dribbling. And it's just like, whoa. That was the first time as a player I realized there's a different level here. But Landon's super nice. He was great. He called his mom every night.
Yeah. So, Elliot, with indoor soccer, because you play with the Lancers, that's indoor soccer with walls. Because when I play with indoor soccer, it's 7-a-side, but there's throw-ins and all that stuff. But the one you were playing was with walls, right?
Yeah, it's a hybrid for all you Canadians tuning in. It's a cross of soccer and hockey, eh? It's very much so, because in the boards you just remove the hockey goals, you put AstroTurf over the ice, and then the goals are set into the end wall. And so,
is it the same size as a hockey rink?
It is a hockey rink.
Oh, it is a hockey rink.
We play in hockey rinks, and sometimes it's cold because then AstroTurf is right on the ice, and you'll sit down to stretch and bucket's cold. So it's a very hard, flat, clean playing surface, but it's very fast. And then the boards keep the ball in play as long as it's low enough, right? You can kick it over the boards. So it's very fast paced. There's no offsides, and we sub like hockey. If you're my partner, if you're on my line, I can run off and you hop on. And there's 2-minute penalties, man down. There's power plays. Sometimes people pull their goalie at the end of the game. We have the same number. Hockey is 5+ goalie, right?
I'm not sure. I only watch.
We're 5+ goalie. I think it's similar to hockey. So it's very much fast paced. A skills game. It's very aggressive, and there's 4 quarters. There's timeouts, and so it really is. I mean, it's my favorite sport to watch. I actually prefer to play outdoor because it's continuous rhythm, whereas indoor, you're staccato, you're on, you're off. But to watch, goals can come in runs. There's no offsides, phenomenal keeper saves, phenomenal goals, and the crowd is right on top of you because it's a small field. So it's a great crowd experience.
So what skills are emphasized over outdoor soccer? Would it be towards like quick touches as well?
Quick touches, quick decision making.
Okay.
You really have to be responsive because it can happen so fast. And you're also, so you don't have the rhythm, like in outdoor, you're building into a rhythm over a 45-minute period.
Yeah, I love that.
I
love that.
So I love that as well. But when you're subbing on and off, you have to have a next level of rhythm, and you have to be cognizant of, am I going to be tired? You get extremely exhausted. So if I'm going to attack and I can't get back and I hit the bench, now we're a man down on a counterattack, and the goal scoring opportunities for them come really quickly. So very much quick thinking in a little different way, but the tight space and the pace of play, it's really quick decision making and tight technical space.
Yeah. So it'll be much more like, and is that called indoor soccer or?
Yeah, arena soccer.
Arena soccer, okay.
Yeah, we call it indoor, so people just think it's soccer inside, but we mean arena soccer with boards.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's kind of like futsal then, in a way.
It has a lot of futsal players in the league because they have that tight space, technical. So futsal, I think, is even more technical because it's tighter, but it's more controlled because they do have the boundary. So indoor is a lot more frenetic, a lot more athletic and explosive. So it's an interesting combo.
Yeah. And it's interesting also, I just wanted to mention this from a little bit earlier when we were talking about the physicality and how that was emphasized in US soccer and North American soccer. We have been interviewing some international players like from Africa and the Caribbean and stuff that have come into
and Brazil.
And from Brazil and come into this league, the CPL, which is the Canadian soccer league. And they have also said that, it's more physical, right? That's kind of more emphasized, whereas where they're from, they value more of that technical touches on the ball, right? Which is what you guys are all about helping develop, right?
One of my favorite stories that kind of emphasizes this is from you, Elliot, playing there and how you were trying so hard, and how did that work out for you?
Yeah, so they play in Brazil a very zone, kind of pass your man on, hold your area. And so I was coming from the US and, I keep myself fit. I like to work hard. So I'm not disparaging the physical side of the game. I love tackling. I love challenges. I love the work rate. But down there, I would be sticking with my man and be like, Gringo, like, stay, I was like a dog or something. And so I finally broke that habit, and it was really nice. You could just pass them on, look for the next guy in your area. And then I came back to the US, and then I was lazy, by comparison. I'm just let my runner go, and it's like, what are you doing? So it's a very different. Brazilians really take pride. The better you are, the less you want to try. If you're trying hard, you're announcing that I'm not good. And so it's a very interesting thing where I'm trying to impress by my work rate, and I'm just like, I'm terrible. I'm not good enough, like just hustling and trying to make it happen. So they're just a lot more playful. They're really proud, but it is that carnival, that dance, that rhythm type of play. And so I had to adjust because I'm very competitive. I have a very bad temper. And so they play like rondos, like 30 against 2 or even 30 against 1. Like the whole team and practice team would have one guy in the middle, and you could get out because guys are trying too many fancy things for fun. So it's not like you're going to be in there all day. And then it's a veteran thing. Like if you go in the middle, if it's 50-50, me and Jack, miscommunicated on a pass, and I get Jack to go in, then I'm the veteran, and it's like, experience, like you got experience. But I'm always like, in America, it's like, I'm going to take responsibility. My bad. I'll go in. And so they started laughing at me, or like they'd be teasing, trying to Maggie, trying to do things. So I get mad and I just go 2-footing it, guys. I'd just be sprinting around the circle trying to get the next dude who thought he was funny. And they call me Gringo Loco. They thought I was crazy. And I was like, well, I went in for you and it was probably your fault. And now you're going to like try to make me look like a fool. I'd lose my mind. And then eventually I was like, no, you go in the middle. I got mad and they were all like, hey, Gringo, you're finally on board. I was like, man, I want to punch everybody at once, but learning curve.
So different cultures. Yeah.
So I have a good work ethic. So if I was there at Brazil and I was working hard, I guess I'd be saying I'm not good then.
It's an interesting thing because they do work hard, but it's how they display it. You know what I mean? It's they really try to rely on their skill, and that's why they're so clean as well, because they would way rather try to keep possession in like a 2-3 yard square with like 3 guys against 1 or 2 in a game, and they have the chance to beat somebody, but they'll just toy with you, you know, and do little quick, clean Barcelona type possession and just enjoy the heck out of it.
But that totally summarizes kind of what we've been talking about today. Like America, here we are, Americans, trying to impress by our work rate. Like, look at MLS. Our work rate's phenomenal. The Brazilians, they're the best in the world. They're trying to impress with their skill. Totally 2 different games.
Yeah. And I had a question for both of you guys. So what is one thing that soccer has taught you that has helped you outside of soccer?
Well, for me, 100% failure, taking criticism, taking it on the chin, and just having.
That's because we played a lot of one-on-one growing up.
Get out of here. Yeah, so just pressure, right? Like disappointing teammates. I'm a perfectionist, and you know, after a game, I remember the mistakes I made far before the things I did well. And so just learning to appreciate my little successes without being too proud and not fearing someone to be like, oh, that wasn't that good, or that was luck, whatever. So I'd always kind of try to play it a little too cool and then really worry about teammates or fans or coaches, what they thought. And I'm so much more willing to fail. You know, over the course of time, I was like, if I miss a goal or make a goal, it's going to depend on how you like me or respond positively or negatively. Then that has no weight. You know, you're completely like, my little foot was turned at a 45-degree angle instead of a 42-degree angle when I struck a ball. Hits the post, I miss, we lose. I'm a loser. You know, so I just learned to take like winning and losing with a grain of salt, and it's really helped me in life, in the workplace or whatever, relationships. Just knowing that I could take failure and it doesn't crush me.
Yeah, for me, it's probably 2 things. Teamwork, right? No matter how good you are, you're not going to win games on your own. So how you can rely on those around you, how you can lift those around you up, what it means to be a leader, what it means to be a good teammate, and this competitiveness. It really taught me how to compete and win, try to be the best. And I think that applies to everything in life. If you're going to do something, you should try to be the best that you can be. You're not always going to be the best on that day, but you can always put forth your best effort on the day. And that's the, you know, one of the main lessons I try to impart on the players that I coach is, you know, whatever you're doing, it's worthwhile. Your time's got value. So give it your best. Work hard.
Well, that sounds phenomenal. I mean, I think we got a lot of value out of this conversation. I know we went on some tangents, but I thought it was really interesting. And where can people find out more about Riobol and about your story and find out about your Riobol?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So our big community is on Instagram. You can check us out at Riobol Official, RIOBOL Official. Yep, thank you, Elliot. And website is where you can where you can.
I love these shirts. They're so comfortable.
Yeah, thank you. We were going to wear them, so we wanted something that we enjoyed wearing. So we tried to find something super comfy that you could kick around in or just wear at casual wear. And you can get your shirts or your Riobols or stickers at riobol.com, RIOBOL.com. Check us out. Okay.
And I just noticed that big Riobol poster. I did not need to get out of my chair for that. It is on your screen, ladies and gentlemen.
Super observant. That's why you were an excellent center mid. Just situational awareness there.
I don't miss much.
Yeah. Great. Well, yeah, Jack, did you have any other questions, or did you guys want to say anything at the end here?
I was gonna just go to my rapid fire because our rapid fire is pretty quick. So okay. I wanted. So you both play FIFA. Do you play FIFA on the Xbox or PS4?
PS3 or original Xbox, because I play like the old versions. 2007 is the version I like.
I play FIFA only in my nightmares. I've literally logged about 2 to 4 minutes lifetime of FIFA. I mean, I instantly rage. It's not even, it's terrible. Like, I hate that game because I can't do what I want to do. They would always try to get me to be the fourth player, you know, come on, we need it. And I'd like once in a while acquiesce, but I'd just stop.
And who do you support as a soccer team?
Oh, for me, it's Seattle Sounders and Arsenal, which to be an Arsenal fan right now, it's tough.
Yeah, it's amazing that TFC and Seattle have such a good rivalry.
Yeah, they've been dominant the last couple of years. It's so fun to watch them battle.
Yeah, my mom and dad are from Toronto, so we're naturally TFC fans.
I guess we're rivals.
Yep.
There's a couple U.S. players on TFC. Michael Bradley,
Josie.
Josie.
I would have never got on this call if I
Ayo Akinola, who
I feel like we have TFC has some of the best American players on the American national team.
Yeah.
So Josie Altidore,
what
Michael
Canadians
Bradley.
does Seattle have?
Yeah, I guess we're exporting all our brilliance.
Okay, what about you, Elliot? Who do you support?
So I don't support any particular team. If I'm watching soccer, I just want to see a creative and gritty game. You know, I lose my mind. It's kind of a theme, I guess. Like when I see people rolling, faking fouls, I immediately want their team to lose. I want someone to teach them what a real foul is. I want them to get wrecked. And then the other team will do it. And I'm like, I want everybody to lose. Like, I want the ref to win now or something. So if I see a good competitive game, I'm happy. You know, if guys are tackling hard and, you know, playing with some creativity, then I can really enjoy it.
Yeah. And do you have a nickname, both of you?
Well, the Mohican Warrior.
Yeah. I would like. Do you have any other nicknames?
I mean, Purple Socks was it early on. They called me Chewy because I was from a little town called Chewelah when I was commuting an hour and 20 minutes to train with Matt and these guys. And in Mexico and Brazil, Gringo Loco was both given to me.
Okay.
2 different countries.
They used to call me Licorice Limbs when I was younger because people would think they'd dribble around me and then I would just like swoop my long legs around them and nick the ball away. They always thought they were around me, but I had long limbs.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was called Matt the Swede.
Yeah, the Swede.
Tall Scandinavian looking lanky son of a gun.
You can always tell a Swede, you just can't tell them much, right? When I was playing on the regional team, they called me the train. The objective was to get the ball to the train and just carry it down the field and cross it in. Not super creative there, right?
How about you, Jack?
My nickname is Ace.
Ace?
Oh, nice.
ACHES?
No, ACE.
Oh, Ace.
Yeah.
It's like aches. I'm like, he must wreck people. That's a great name. Give him the
Always
aches and
cracking
pains.
people.
Yeah. Ace.
Mm-hmm.
So not Jack. Jack and the Ace.
Yeah, Jack Race.
That's 21.
And Daddy's nickname is the Green-Eyed King.
That's a humble name. Nice.
I didn't give it to myself.
Courtesy of me.
Okay.
And do you cook? And if you do cook, what is your favorite thing to cook?
Man, my favorite thing to cook is whatever is fairly healthy and happens fast. I'm fairly keep myself alive on the cooking front. I don't waste any time with culinary excellence. I like everything I cook, but it's very basic.
So the favorite thing that my family likes for me to cook are crepes. So I'll make crepes in the morning, but it's the process. We've only got 2 pans and 5 mouths to feed, so it like takes a while. But when I'm making something for myself, like lunches at work, I try to do something pretty simple. I'll have like a can of sardines and a bag of kale, and I'll literally just take handfuls of salad straight from the bag and eat the sardines straight from the can. So high level cooking.
When he's kind of a brew master, he likes to brew his own vinegar for drinking.
Oh yeah, kombucha. I've been known to explode
Oh,
some kombucha.
that's
Yeah,
kombucha. Okay, I thought it was vinegar.
we like
I thought it was
kombucha.
green vinegar. That
We
junk
like.
is not gonna sell well.
I like kombucha. So does Daddy.
Yeah, me
And
too.
what is your favorite? What is your favorite soccer movie or documentary? Is it
For
Soccer Town USA?
Soccer Town USA was fantastic because it's just like right on point for the culture we're trying to develop through our nonprofit at Riobol. But my favorite is probably the Pele or Maradona documentaries. Just so fantastic to see what it was like for them to come through. But sports documentary, the Michael Jordan documentary on ESPN
Netflix?
lately was just mind-blowing to see
The
how
Last Dance?
competitive he was. I
The
mean,
Last Dance?
The
Yeah.
Last Dance. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's
Jack.
on. It was on Netflix. I was so surprised about that too because I don't pay. I really don't pay much attention to any other basketball players. So this is kind of since I watched it. This is the only this is the only time that I can actually name a few basketball players. And what about you, Elliot?
I'd gotta go with ladybugs.
Never heard of that.
What? Rodney Dangerfield didn't make it to Canada?
Oh,
Yeah, I've
It's
heard of him. I've heard of him. We'll have to look
It
that
is.
one up. We'll have to look that one up. That
Well,
must be from the
Canada
80s or
is
something.
so
don't watch it. Just look it up and you'll get the gist. It's probably not worth your time, but it was a comedy and it was really Bad News Bears style, right? I think it was a girls soccer team and this guy, he was a stud, so he dressed up like a girl, but all the kids, like, it would just show close-ups on their feet. It clearly wasn't the actors, like when the soccer was happening. It was just a goofy, if you know Rodney Dangerfield, just like
Yeah.
slapsticky lame. But I liked it at the time.
And what do you like about your sun sign?
My sun sign?
Yeah, astrological sun sign.
I honestly don't know anything about.
is it like your horoscope?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's your horoscope.
I think I'm a Pisces. It just means I'm sensitive and moody, which I deny.
I don't deny that on his behalf. I'm a Virgo. I don't know what that means. I think they're smart and funny and cool.
I also deny that.
And what is one thing that people don't know about you, but that they would be surprised to know about you?
People would be surprised to know that I could have had a second career as a foot model. I have exceptionally good-looking feet.
Okay.
He has one toe that forever rides the back of another toe. He has a pinky toe that won't get off the one next to it. If he pushes it down, it holds and snaps back up. So on top of the bony, pale structure, I don't know if his modeling career is going to take off. So I don't know. I like to write. I write lyrics, I rhyme, I rap a little bit on the side. So that's a fun outlet for me. Most people are pretty surprised by that.
Cool.
And when you said write, do you write books or just write lyrics?
Lyrics and journaling mostly. Just get my thoughts out on paper. I used to be an avid journaler and it just feels like whatever's in your head, if you can put it on paper, it feels less big and it's kind of like flushing out anxiety. So I really like that process.
Mm-hmm. And what would be 3 words to define
What do you guys like to cook?
Oh, well, I like to cook chicken in a cast iron pan and put it on a bed of lettuce and then put hot green chili like hot sauce on top of it.
Jeez.
That sounds good.
I like to cook.
I can't hang.
Yeah, I like to cook. I like to cook with my cast iron pan and my Dutch oven. I like using ghee and bacon fat, making some nice stews, or just I'm a pretty good cook.
Yeah, he I really like his stews. They're really good. And
Sounds good.
And what would be 3 words to define you guys?
Self-defining or defining each other?
Self-defining.
Self-defining.
I would say I'm very analytical. It's taking me this long to answer the question.
No, everybody, for some reason, some people say that these rapid fire questions is like a psychology show.
Yeah. I'd say I'm competitive, analytical,
Mm-hmm.
of average height.
Yeah.
I can't think of a third one right now.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
well,
so it's
you can think about it for a little longer. What about you,
Yeah.
Matthew?
well, it's interesting because there'd be 3 different words if it was what I really thought that I was, or how my friends would describe me, but like 3 words that I'm trying to live up to.
No, 3 words is like I guess it's like 3 words that you feel like you are, I guess.
Oh, I don't get to pick the ones that I'm working towards because I
Yeah,
literally have written
let
words
him pick the
down
ones that
Okay,
he's
okay,
working
okay.
that
you
I'm
can work
working towards. I'm trying to be diligent. I
Okay.
am optimistic, so that is probably both. And then righteous, so like always like making the correct decision for the higher purpose, for a higher goal. That's what I'm striving towards. I don't know if people would describe me as that yet, but that's what I'm working towards. It's a journey, right?
Yeah, journey.
For sure.
And this is my last rapid fire question. What are your goals for the future?
Clearly for Riobol to be a success, you know, to really get to put my passion and vision, not just for the game, but for people. I think sports are such a good metaphor for life and a tool that give people confidence and an outlet. And I'm most passionate about soccer. So I'd love to see a lot of young people, especially, get inspired to really work hard and experience success and failure with a healthy emotional state with it.
Yeah, I'd love to see Riobol push the soccer culture forward in North America. So Canada makes it to the semifinals of a World Cup. USA wins. Sorry, guys. And we both have players that are fighting and in the conversation for the best player in the world. Where we got that pickup soccer culture in America, anyone has the opportunity to make it, and all of a sudden, players from North America are getting scouted and recruited all over the world because they're athletic, creative problem solvers.
Yeah, it seems like that North American soccer is kind of coming to an upside because Des, your right back, I believe, who plays for Ajax, and Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Junior Hoilett. I'm thinking of young talent. I'm not.
Alphonso Davies is the real deal. So
Yeah.
is Dest. They're excellent. And Pulisic is a legit, top 20 in his age group talent in the world. Like we've got Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie. Like there's some talent coming through. We got to put it all together.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent. Well, I thank both of you guys for coming on. It was a very enjoyable conversation. It was a very enjoyable conversation. And guys, this Riobol is awesome. So you should definitely check it out. And the Riobol is just awesome. And thank you both for coming on. It was an honor to talk with you guys.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. I really appreciate you guys. This is super fun. You guys have a great dynamic, great questions. And I really like what you guys are doing. So it's a total pleasure. It's an honor and I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys are
Thank you
crushing
guys.
it. You guys are doing exceptional work. It's JackMurrayTV, right?
Yeah, JackMurrayTV.
Yeah, check them out.
Jack Ace Murray TV.
Yeah,
I don't want to take my middle name away though, because I love my middle name because it's Lowell and it stands for Little Wolf Cub.
Yeah, Wolf Cub. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jack Lowell Ace Murray.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. So guys, that was awesome. And I'm a big fan of the Riobol. I think it's just such a cool tool that probably a lot of people just don't know about yet. And I just really like it, how just everything about it.
Well, thanks for inviting us on and helping us get the word out. We're super happy to hear that you guys like it. Jack, have you seen a difference when you train with the Riobol and you go to a soccer ball?
Well, I've noticed that I've gotten I don't I try to juggle, but I don't juggle a lot. But I've been starting to juggle a lot more since I've got my Riobol, and I've gotten a lot higher juggling record. And I just really like the ball. I love playing with it. It's really fun. It's really bright, and it just really improves your touch. I really like doing a lot of ball mastery with it, like just in betweenies and toe taps and little turns with it. I like doing that with it too. So you guys, so everyone who's watching this, you gotta get a Riobol, and this is just an awesome company that is going to expand North American soccer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, bye.